Hey guys, welcome to the Filming with Josh podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Milligan, and this is episode number 116, How I'm Using AI in My Video Production Business.
This is the Filming with Josh podcast, brought to you by Rustic River Media. Welcome to the videographer's home for tips, tricks, and how to make flicks.
Welcome back to another episode of the Filming with Josh podcast. If you're new to the podcast, thanks for listening in. And if you've been a long-time listener, thanks for joining us for another episode. I say us, I guess it's just me. If you are new, just know that we do have a Facebook group called Filming with Josh. Be sure to go to Facebook, ask to join that group, and I'll be sure to approve you when I see that. And that's just a place where you can come, ask questions, post your work, ask for feedback, keep up with projects I'm working on. I post a lot of behind-the-scenes pictures there and talk about various topics there, so go check that out. I also have started writing my blogs again, which is what I did before I started the Filming with Josh Facebook group or this podcast. So if you want to check out any of my latest blogs, my most recent one just came live last week, and that is going to be found at rusticriver.media. Click on the Filming with Josh tab on the top right, and you'll see a spot for our blog section. What a fun week this has been for me because if you listen to last week's episode, picked up a new truck for the first time in over a decade. And I have been spending this week kind of breaking it in, but editing and doing work-related stuff as well. But I have been spending probably a little bit too much time having fun, learning the ins and outs of my new F250 Super Duty with a 6.7 Power Stroke diesel engine. It is the coolest truck, and I am trying to come up with a name for it. So if you want to help me name my truck, drop a comment in the podcast section or go to Filming with Josh and let me know there on Facebook or on Instagram under our Rustic River Media Instagram page, and let me know what I should name my truck. I've named all three of the trucks I had in the past, and this one is Ford's Avalanche color. It's kind of like a grayish blue, and it is an F250 Super Duty, as mentioned a minute ago, big crew cab with a 6.8 foot bed and a diesel engine, and it is what I'm obviously carrying all my gear in for work. So I'm trying to come up with a name for it, and right now I have Content Wagon as my number one choice, so the Content Wagon, which my wife totally rolled her eyes at, but I got that from ChatGPT because, hey, that's what today's episode's about, right? Using AI. And I was using AI to help me name my truck, and it came up with a bunch of different types of options. And I saw Content Wagon, and it made me chuckle. And I was like, that's not half bad. And everybody I've told that to has laughed so far, but maybe it needs a more serious name. It's a Texas truck. Maybe it needs a Texas name. I don't know. But let me know what I should name my truck or if I should stick with the Content Wagon. It's been really fun. I've never owned a diesel truck, so this has been a new learning experience for me, but I definitely, with it being a 3/4 ton, don't feel like all my combo stands and C-stands and sandbags and giant lights and all this other stuff are weighing my truck down anymore, which is a breath of fresh air. But yeah, let me know what we should name it. So I say we, again, just me. I don't know why I keep doing that. I say we all the time or us all the time, even though I'm usually just referencing myself. I have a tendency to do that. I don't know why. Today's episode is all about AI. And I'll be honest, I'm not crazy about a lot of things that have to do with AI. I think AI is going to be the downfall of humanity. I don't say that with like a tinfoil hat kind of thing. I say that as someone who's just like looking at the world and saying AI is making us dumber because we are learning to lean on it. My mom, who's a professor at a college, I mean, almost every paper that gets turned in anymore is AI written. And my mom even will write comments back like, at least try to hide it to her students. It's crazy, right? But that's the world we live in. I mean, AI is everywhere. It's being used for everything. And I do think that it is going to help us in some ways, and I think it is definitely going to hurt us in a lot of ways. It's going to spread false information. It's already doing that. And it's just going to snowball into this monster that I don't know how we're ever going to slow it down or control it. And I really don't think we're going to be honest. But I'll take my tinfoil hat off and I will just talk about the plus side of AI and how I'm using it in my video production business, because I am using it. And it's really from the mentality of adapt or die. And what I mean by that is I know that if I don't jump on this early and start using AI in my work, then I'm going to eventually fall behind. So I did, like when AI started becoming a thing, I mean, it's been around for a while, obviously, but when it started becoming more popularized over the last couple of years, I started finding ways to incorporate it and utilize it for my business, and it has helped me. And so in today's podcast, I'm going to talk about some different ways I'm utilizing artificial intelligence to help me run my business, as well as to help me with my actual jobs. So let's dive into it. So diving right in, I'm going to start with project pricing. I actually use AI to help me price my work quite often. I have kind of a pricing sheet because I don't just have like a set day rate, right? It all depends on what we're doing. Like showing up and shooting a 10-hour typical day by myself is going to vary differently, right, than if I'm showing up with a crew, which is going to vary differently than if we're working a 16-hour day, which is going to work differently than if we're like doing a live stream where it's more complicated, there's more at risk. I mean, it all depends on the job, right? So every job is different. But what I'll do is when I have a customer will reach out to me, whether it's via an email or whether we have a phone call, or sometimes I'll have if it's not a new customer, maybe it's someone I've worked with in the past, they might even text me and tell me what they're wanting to do. And what I'll do is I'll take either that email or that text message and I'll screenshot it and I'll chunk it into AI, like ChatGPT. I pay for like the ChatGPT, one of the membership subscriptions. I can't remember which one, but I'll chunk that in there. Or if it's just a phone call we had, I'll jot down some notes and chunk that in there. And I'll say, based on my pricing sheet, how should I price this project? And it'll kind of go through my pricing sheet and say, based on the information that we have from your customer, this is what your price should be for this job. And here's why I'm using AI to do that, because you could just do that on your own. But sometimes if a client asks me something, I might get an email. Like, for example, I got an email the other day about wanting me to bring in a group to, like a small crew to cover an event in Austin. It's like this big corporate event. And they wanted a lot of things. They wanted like a headshot station, and they wanted to have a step and repeat station. And then they wanted photographers capturing content of throughout the day. And they wanted awards to be documented. And there was like all these different things that they wanted done. This was a photo job, if you haven't picked up on that. But anyway, it was kind of complicated, and there was a lot of moving parts, and they broke it down by all 3 days because it's a 3-day event. And I was like, man, I need a little bit of help here, kind of figuring out how to structure this job. So I screenshotted the email, I threw it into chat, and I threw my pricing sheet into chat. And ChatGPT does know my pricing sheet because I've done this so many times, but I still throw it in there to minimize mistakes, right? And what it'll do is, like for this job, for example, it'll kind of go through that and it'll break it down for me and say, based off of what the client is asking, it looks like you're probably going to need this many people to cover the job because they want the headshot happening at this time and they want the separate and repeat at this time, but they have all these events happening at this time. In order to cover it, these are how many people you're going to need. And based on your pricing list, this is what that would cost. And then it would factor in, okay, this isn't a normal 10-hour day. These are like 14 or 16-hour days, so we need to have overtime thrown in. And then it will also figure out, like from my address to where this location is, because I'll give it my address, it'll tell me how many miles it's going to be so we can pull from the state per diem mileage. And I could do all this on my own, of course, but it's doing it for me in an instant. And is saving me a ton of time, because sometimes a job like that, you have to sit down and really think it through. But I can use ChatGPT and I can work through how to price a job using ChatGPT, and it can help me figure out very quickly all the moving parts and how to come up with a price based on how I normally price things. So that's step one on how I use it for pricing. Step two is I ask it, how does that price compare to the market? And the reason I ask this question is sometimes, like on this job I just explained, the number might look bigger than I think the client is probably going to go for based off of my conversation. And so I might ask ChatGPT, for example, like, give me feedback on how this price compares to what the industry would charge here in Austin, for example. And so it'll give me feedback that it's gathering from information it's pulling all across the internet and is able to tell me based on my price, whether it's I'm shooting a little high, a little low, or on the dot. And sometimes it'll be like, hey, you know what? You're underpricing. You should bump up. And I'll take that advice and get the job and make extra money. And sometimes, like this job I just explained, there were so many moving parts, and the amount of hours we were going to work was going to make this really expensive. And I felt like I probably wasn't going to get it. And so when I was chatting back and forth with ChatGPT, ChatGPT kind of, ran the numbers through the market, and it gave me a price that it felt would probably help me secure the job. And it was a little bit lower. And essentially what it did was it had me not charge for overtime. And even though I want to charge for overtime, I realized that based on the market and this particular style of job, it was right. Had I gone with my original price, I probably wouldn't have won the bid. And so I'm using it to not only help me, based on my own pricing sheet, figure out how to price a job, but I'm even using it to see how my pricing is comparing to the market, so I have a better chance at getting the job. And that has really helped me out a lot. It's helped me get more money. It's helped me cut costs where I need to be able to help me land the gig. And I've really enjoyed having that. So using it to price my work is one of the things that I use it for on a weekly basis. And I find that to be an extremely helpful tool. Next is proposals and contracts. So let's say I land a job like the one I just explained. I have been for years using a particular proposal software, and I have a template that I've built. I've got a few different templates based on the job. I've got like a live stream one, I've got a photo one, I've got a video one. Video is most of my work, so that's like the primary one, but sometimes it might be video and photo. Sometimes it might be live streaming. Sometimes we might be doing video, live streaming, and photography. Just depends on the job. But I got different templates based on different types of projects, and I even have them based on industries. So I've got some that are geared more toward AEC, like architectural engineering construction. I've got some templates I've developed over the years that are more based on maybe some of the outdoor hunting and fishing content I do. Some of it might be targeted toward more corporate type stuff like tech, medical, things like that. And really how those templates came to be is I would get a job in a field that I hadn't worked in before, and I would pull from a pre-existing template I had already developed, and I would swap out the imagery and the template and some of the ways I wrote things out to make it targeted toward a specific industry. And then the next time I got a job in that industry or got asked for a bid in that industry, I would just copy and clone that proposal and essentially turn it into a template. And so I have a pool of templates online that I pull from. So if I have a job like the one I just explained, that was this kind of complicated photography job that was going to involve a bunch of people in order for me to pull it off, a bunch of crew, I pulled up a photo, one of my photography, like corporate photography templates, and I was like, okay, chat, how we're going, the job. I've already screenshotted the email from the client, and you've helped me figure up the pricing. Now help me draft a proposal. And what I'll do is I'll go through and I'll literally screenshot my proposal as section by section, and ChatGPT will help me reword each section of the proposal so it is based on that specific job. And used to, I would have to do all this myself. And I still am doing it, right? I'm still reading what it's saying, and I'm suggesting changes or am going in and manually making changes myself. But it's giving me a great starting point, and that has saved me hours and hours and hours and hours of time. Because used to go through and make a custom proposal for a job would take me a long time, especially if it was a really complicated job, because all my proposals are very custom. So it's not just like a Word document. Like I'm going through and I'm putting in imagery to break up each section that's kind of targeted toward their market, because you need a little eye candy, or I see it this way. I want a little eye candy because at the end of the day, everything that I do is based on imagery, right? Whether it's live streaming, photography, video, it's all an image-based business. And so I, of course, in my proposal want to reflect that. So in my proposal software, I'm putting in images that are targeted toward that market. So if it's a proposal for marketing a hunting ranch, I've got each section broken up by a beautiful picture of a white-tailed deer, or a really awesome rugged picture of someone climbing a mountain looking for mountain goats, whatever it is. And so it's very specific and very tailored toward that industry. And so I'm already spending time doing that. Then I'd have to go in and spend time writing each section from the beginning of the proposal, which would be kind of like a synopsis of the job. And then the next section might be how we're going to do the job. The next section might be a little bit more specific toward different part of the job. Like if it's a video job, I might have a section that's targeted toward how we're going to do the video side. I might have another section for the photography side. I might have another section that's got how we're going to bring it to market, whatever it is. But I'd have to go in and manually retype up each section every single time. And my proposals are good, and I've landed a lot of jobs from these proposals, and I've been using the same proposal software for over a decade. But the reality is it took me forever to write each of those sections out. Now I can use AI and just screenshot my proposal software section by section and say, hey, based on what you know about this job, help me write this section. And it'll give me a fantastic starting point. And I'll go in and I'll change it up, some, because I don't, it loves to use M dashes and things like that. And it's a dead giveaway that it's AI. So you need to still go in and do some things to make it not look AI written. But it gives me a great starting point. And then it doesn't take me very long to go in and just make some quick changes, or if I don't like something, suggest that it hey, you forgot to add this, or I don't like the way this reads, or whatever. And so, I'm still having to do that, but it's so much faster than having to just start from scratch and do it all on my own. And hey, time is money. That means less time on proposals and more time marketing my business, or more time working on an edit, or more time going out and networking, or whatever the case is. So it's helping me be more efficient in my job. The same is true with my contracts. I have basically kind of somewhat of a standard contract, but there are sections in the contracts that are based on the specific job. And in my proposal software, throughout my contract, every clause has a title, and I have all the titles that never need to be changed, that are just standard for every job. They're blue, but the titles that for sections that need to be changed on a job per job basis, they're orange. And I do that for myself. It's kind of like a reminder that every orange section needs to be custom tailored for the specific job. So I'll go through the proposal software. I'll get all of the sections typed out. I'll put the pricing in based off the pricing that I spoke back and forth with, ChatGPT or whatever to come up with. And then when we get to the contract section, I'll screenshot all of the orange labeled sections, the ones that are individual based on the job, and I'll throw that into ChatGPT and say, okay, based off of our conversation, help me update this section to reflect this job. But I always tell it, only don't change the legalese, only change what's pertinent in order to make it accurately reflect the job. The reason for that is because my attorney, I have an attorney that I use quite often, and he has helped me develop this contract over the years. And every time I'd run into something, we'd develop a new clause, or we would add to a clause. And so my contract's pretty bulletproof, and it was done by an attorney. And so the legalese part of it, and the way all of the language is written in terms of how the contract is read from a court perspective, all of that is good to go. It's the specifics of the job that need to be changed. And so I'll tell AI, go in based on what you know about this job and make this section reflect this specific job, but don't change the legalese unless you absolutely have to. And by that, it might mean like we might have to change a word or two of the legalese just to reflect the specific job, but it keeps the core concept of each section intact so that all the work that my attorney and I did is still being used. So that has, again, saved me a ton of time because contracts would take forever, but that's why I color coded it, because now I can really quickly just go to the orange sections, because those are the only ones that need to be changed, screenshot those, throw them in a chat helps me, we swap it out, boom, done. I can write a proposal now in an hour that might have taken me half a day or longer to write in the past. And when you add up the amount of proposals I write in a year, that's a ton of time. So for me, AI has been immensely useful, if nothing else, for pricing projects, writing proposals, and writing contracts. And also even writing up the email. I'll say, based off of this contract and proposal we wrote, help me draft a quick email that summarizes what's in this proposal to send off to X client. And it'll help me with that. And this might make me sound like I'm being lazy or something because I'm not taking the time to do this. And at the beginning of the podcast, I did say it's kind of dumbing us down, right? Because we're relying on it. And I am relying on it. But the reality is it's helping me work faster, which is helping me get more done, and that's helping me grow my business. And if I don't do this, I know my competitors are going to at some point if they're not already, and I'm just going to fall behind because I'm spending hours and hours and hours doing this myself when they would be doing what I'm doing, which is utilizing it to be more efficient. So from an efficiency standpoint, this has been really, really helpful for me and has helped me grow my business. Next is script writing and industry research. So let's say I land a job and I need to write a script. A lot of the jobs I land, I'm the one writing the script, or my team is. I have another script writer who works with me. And so if we go to write a script from scratch, like we used to do years ago, it would take, again, a long time, because you have to really think it through and how you're going to write it out and what shots you're going to get and where you're going to shoot it all. I can write a script now in no time. Now, I'm still giving it my own creativity. Okay, so this is important. You don't want to just say, write me a script for a 30-second ad for a truck commercial. You still need to be creative and give it creative direction. So you might say, hey, I'm getting hired to do a 30-second commercial. I'm making this up. Commercial for, well, actually, I'll use a real example. I recently did a commercial shoot for Cowboy Trailer Sales. I do a commercial shoot for them every single year, and or every other year, something like that. But this year's commercial, for example, I went in and said, hey, Cowboy Trailer Sales has, this is a real world example. Cowboy Trailer Sales has expanded and has opened a new location in Abilene, Texas. Was it Abilene? Weatherford, Texas. Previously, their original locations in East Texas over in Crockett. So I would go to ChatGPT and I would say, hey, that job that you helped me write the proposal for, because it already knows the job, I'll say, on that job, I landed the job, and I want you to help me to develop a script. So for this script, I said I have to have two versions. I have to have a 60-second video that is going to be used for one type of marketing avenue, and I need a 30-second video that's going to be used at rodeos and things like that, where they're going to be having paid advertising to get their horse trailer lot, or whatever you want to call it, in front of the right target market. And so for me, I will tell ChatGPT I need a 60-second video. And for this example, I need a 60-second video and I need a 30-second video. And it's about their new location in Weatherford, Texas. And this is where I start giving it the creative direction. I'll say, I want to highlight the town of Weatherford because I know that Weatherford is the cutting horse capital of the world, or at least that's what it's called, the cutting horse capital of the world. And there's literally a building there that's got that painted on a beautiful mural. I put that in the video, actually. So I'll say, let's lean into the heritage and the history and kind of the culture of Weatherford, and let's start the video with that as our hook, and then we'll go into how Cowboy Trailer Sales is serving them. So I'm giving it creative direction, and I'm giving it some specifics in terms of time length and the fact that I need 2 cuts. And so I give it that, and now it's giving me a good starting point. And now I start working back with ChatGPT to figure out a well-scripted video that I could then present to my client. And again, it's not just one and done. They give me a script and I hand it to my client. I'm giving it feedback, or I'm manually going in and I'm altering certain sections. But it is absolutely helping me. It's like a brainstorm session. It's absolutely helping me take my thoughts and my creative direction and now put words to it and put shots to it, because it also helps me suggest shots to go with each line of the video. And again, it doesn't know what I may know unless I tell it, which is I know I'm going to have a hard time finding a young boy for this one scene because I don't live in Weatherford and my client just opened this location there and they don't have access to show a kid on a horse. I'm just making this up. So there are some things that I may have to give it feedback on, like, hey, I don't think that's very feasible, but I'm just working with it back and forth and we're writing a script. And it helps me, again, save an immense amount of time while also giving me some ideas that I may never have thought of. And so I found from a script writing standpoint that has been immensely useful. Another real world example of that is, and this is where the industry research comes into play. I've been doing a lot of work for some different political action committees, or PACs, in Austin. They're all conservative based PACs. And the PACs that I've been working with in Austin have had me help create different types of videos over whether it's bills or things that they're trying to lobby for, like school choice or reducing property taxes. But these are things I don't know a ton about. Like, I've heard of school choice and I know a little bit about it, or I've heard of, people trying to get property taxes reduced. And I own a home myself, but outside of the core, headline level knowledge, I don't have in-depth knowledge about any of those specific areas, because that's just not my world. I'm in video production, right? I'm not an attorney, or I'm not a lobbyist. I don't work in politics. So those are things that I don't really understand. So what I'll do is I'll have my client, so I'm using this as another real world example. One of my clients last year, we were helping lobby for school choice, and then we documented the day it got passed and documented getting signed into bill by Governor Abbott. And we did a bunch of videos along the way to help promote school choice. But once it happened, we wanted to do a video that was like, look what we did. Look what we accomplished. We worked hand in hand, this political action committee, with Governor Abbott to create or to help pass school choice in Texas. And that's a big deal. And so we wanted to make a video to kind of encapsulate all the work that had gone into getting that bill passed. But the thing is, again, I don't know the ins and outs of school choice. I know enough to know my own viewpoints on it based off of what research I've done or conversations I've had with people. But there's a certain point where it goes beyond my level of understanding. So what I do is I use ChatGPT to help me research and understand a specific topic. Now, this is dangerous a little bit, right? Because I said earlier at the beginning of the podcast, the whole misinformation thing. And that's true, because you may not fully understand where it's getting its information from. And sometimes I will even ask it, like, hey, where did you get your information? Good example of that, this new F-250 I bought. I made a comment earlier that I'm a new diesel owner. And I know that you're supposed to break in a new engine because I bought my truck brand new. And so I asked it, I said, hey, ChatGPT, help me figure out the break-in period and procedure for properly breaking in the engine in my new truck. And it gave me information on how to properly break my engine in. But I followed that up by saying, show me where you got your information from so I can validate it. And it proved to me that it got the information from a Ford F-250 2026 6.7 Power Stroke manual. Okay, good. I know now that where you got your information from was directly from the source, so I can trust it. So that's important. And I do the same thing when writing a script, especially when you start talking about things like politics, because who knows where it's pulling its information from. So you got to be a little careful, right? But I can at least use it to get somewhat of an understanding in my research of a specific industry or a specific field that I'm about to do a video in. From there, like in the case of school choice, I had my client tell me like, give me a list. You don't have to write a script, but just give me a list of all the things you want to highlight in this video and the things that you really want to mention. And they gave me that list, and I took that list and I copied and pasted it into ChatGPT, and I said, hey, I'm doing a video on school choice. We want to showcase how we were able to work collectively with Governor Abbott's team to get this bill passed. And here's the information that my client wants to champion or highlight in this video. And so I said, take that information and help me write this script. And it's taking information from their bullet points plus research it's doing online. Again, you got to fact check it. And my creative feedback, and it's helping me write a script. And I worked again with ChatGPT to help me figure out the script, and then I sent it off to my client, and it got approved with no revisions requested. And that is a video that eventually went on to be played not only by Governor Abbott and shared by Governor Abbott, but Donald Trump himself watched that video in the West Wing at the White House, and which is really cool. And that is a video that I used AI to help me write the script for. Now, don't go out and say, hey, Donald Trump or Governor Abbott is using AI to write their scripts or whatever. I'm taking full ownership in the fact that I used it to help me brainstorm the script out. I didn't use it to write the script. I used it to help me give it creative direction and to help me take the thoughts that I had, the creative direction I had, and the information that the customer wanted to convey, and then help me understand the topic a little bit more so I could put it into words and to put shots with those words. So it is not an AI script that went and was used and played by the president and used by Governor Abbott, right? And I know somebody out there probably wants to say that, but what it is it is me smartly using AI the correct way, which is feeding it information and helping me collect my thoughts in a way that is well written and that has shots to go with it so we can tackle this project and get it done quickly and efficiently. Because if I didn't have that, I could do it on my own like I used to do back in the day, but that would take me a lot longer. And we didn't have that kind of time. We needed to get this video out the door because this was something that just happened. And this is back when it happened. It had just happened. We need to get the video done and out the door ASAP. So we didn't have time. So this is where, again, it comes into play. So in terms of researching and understanding a specific field, maybe you're wanting to do, you're getting hired to do a video about lawn care, and it's to promote a lawn care product, but you don't fully understand the different grasses and stuff like that. This is where it comes into play. Like, hey, help me understand what I'm trying to do here and help me put this script into words about how you're tackling crabgrass. I don't know anything about crabgrass, but you know what I'm saying? So like, it's really useful, and it is an amazing tool if you think of it like an encyclopedia and not like artificial intelligence. And that is how I'm utilizing it. So it has been, again, a very effective tool in terms of script writing and doing industry research, and has helped me be more efficient and be able to get my work done in a timely fashion. Next up is project planning. I utilize AI a lot for helping me to plan out a project. Earlier, I talked about the specific job where someone was wanting a quote for this event where there were going to be photographers needed at all these different areas to do this different event, and there was all these different times that things were going to be happening. It helped me figure out how to plan that day, those 3 days out, and who needed to be where and when. And it was really useful, ChatGPT was, in helping me plan out those 3 days. I use it also for things like, let's go back to the cowboy trailer sales video. After we had developed a script and had it approved by the client, I had a 2-day shoot window to shoot that project, and I had to travel out to Weatherford, which is kind of northwest Texas, is a bit of a drive for me, like 4 or 5 hours. So I had to drive out there, shoot for 2 days, and drive home. I had a limited window of 2 days. So I had a lot of shots that I wanted to create in this 2-day window. And based on the particular budget of this job, I was going to be shooting this on my own. So for me by myself to drive to Northwest Texas, shoot this project and drive back home, and of having only a 2-day window to do it, and there's a lot of moving parts, I needed to figure out a really good plan for this project so it could be executed well. And so I used AI to help me figure out how to plan both days. So using the script, I knew that there were a couple of shots that needed to take place in either a morning or an evening to match with what the script talked about, like early mornings and long days or whatever. I needed to be able, when the voiceover said that, I needed to have a shot that matched that. And so using AI, I was able to plan each shoot day out based on when I needed certain shots done by a certain time of day, or when there could be shots that could be done inside when lighting was really bad outside. So it helped me plan, like, hey, between this hour and this hour, let's get the interior shots of the building to go with the new trailer sales building and location. And from this time to this time, we need to be in downtown when the lighting is good, getting shots of the buildings where it says Cutting Horse Capital of the World, So and again, I'm giving it prompts. I'm explaining to it like, hey, follow our script and help me plan this out and make sure that I'm able to be at certain places at the times of day when I need to be there. And it's helping me plan each day out. And it's helping me also plan, like, okay, if you're going to go downtown and back to Cowboy Trailer Sales, that's this far away. That gives you this many hours or this much time to shoot this one scene. And then you have this much time to shoot this other scene. And then you need to go back over here and you have this block of window to shoot this other scene. And it is helping me plan those 2 days out. And again, I could do this by hand, but it is immensely faster to have AI help me do it and to plan those 2 days out. And then again, I shot the project plan out to my client and said, hey, here's a breakdown of how I want to shoot these 2 days. Can you find the people for me? And they got on it. And we found the people and we got it done. And in that 2-day window, me by myself, I shot the whole video, came home. Jared, my wonderful editor, and I cut it together, and we had a 60 and 30 second cut. We had our timing markers. We got them sent out, and they're now being played in rodeos all over. And it was all thanks to AI helping me to write the scripts and plan out the shoot days. And so I tackle a lot of shoot days like that, where I know we only have X amount of time, we have X amount of scenes. Help me figure out how much time we can give to each scene and how to structure it and when to do them. So from a project planning standpoint, that's really useful. As far as project planning goes, I also use it to help me plan out things like, how are we going to go about getting this one type of shot? And do we need a film permit? And do we need to contact a certain place to get access to do a certain thing? Like, it's helping me plan out every bit of the job so that I am fully prepared come time to execute the shoot. So from getting film permits to figuring out different resources, people to contact, it's immensely useful for planning out a project. So it is a really useful tool from that standpoint, and goes hand in hand with doing the script writing and industry research. Next, let's talk about transcripts and interview rough cuts. AI for me has been almost the most useful when it comes to this. DaVinci Resolve a year or two ago, however long it's been, came out with the ability to auto-transcribe raw files or timelines. And they're not the only ones who have come out with that ability. Adobe's been able to do that now. I'm not sure about Final Cut or some of the other programs, but I know others have offered something similar. Whatever editing software you use, the ability to transcribe a video is immensely useful. It's great for things like closed captions. Of course, you probably need to go in. You do need to go in and double check it and maybe tweak it, but it's a great starting point for closed captions. When I used to do outdoor TV, back when I was producing hunting shows full time, we would have to send the videos off to a closed caption place, have it captioned, and have an SRT file sent back to us, and then we would submit that to the network. And that cost a good amount of money and took time to do. Now, of course, you can do it yourself. But on top of that, what I use transcriptions more than more than closed captions. And I do use it for captions, especially if I'm like doing a social media video and I want to burn the captions into the video. But what I use it for even more than that is for transcribing interviews and sending that off to a client, as well as to help me develop the rough cut. Here's how I do it. So, for example, I just wrapped post last night for Perky Barber. You might have seen on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever me talking about this shoot I did for this law firm in Austin. They're one of the biggest law firms in Austin. And we interviewed, I think it was like 8 or 9 people for this 5-minute, 20-year celebration video I created for them. And the video turned out really good. And it doesn't feel like it's 5 minutes because there are so many people speaking in this video. It's like, again, like 8 or 9 people. And when you work the numbers out, each person is only getting so much time. I wanted the 2 founders to have the most amount of time, but I still needed everybody else we interviewed to be able to have a little bit of time in this video. And so when we shot these interviews, we shot the interviews over the course of 2 days. And if you think about it, 8 or 9 interviews, if each of them are averaging 20 to 30 minutes, because, you know, it's not a documentary, so they don't need to be crazy long, but still, they're 20 or 30 minute interviews. And I'm coming home and I have all of this dialogue that took place for a 5-minute video. It was a lot to go through. And once again, in the past, I would have to sit and go through all the interviews, listen to everything that's being said, and try to cut together a video that flows based off of me listening very carefully and cutting together section by section. Now, I treat a job like that much differently. So in this job, again, a real world example, I came home and organized all the footage and had it, had everything time code synced and all of that, because I record to an external sound recorder. And so everything was time code synced, including the A and the B cam. There was one interview where we had the 2 founders together, so that had A, B, and C cam along with audio. And I put everything on one big timeline. And what I did from there is I gave the project, put it on a copy of it onto a hard drive and handed it off to Jared, my editor. And what Jared did for me is he ran it through DaVinci Resolve's transcription software and was able to send me a text file that had the transcriptions from everybody's interviews. And it was just one document, and he went in real quick and labeled the names because we used a time code slate to know who was who. So when he got the transcriptions done, which again, it's doing it automatically, he's making coffee and cooking breakfast and it's doing the transcription for him. And so, you know, it was hours worth of audio. And when he was done, you know, he walks back in his office and he just sits down and he quickly goes through and was like, okay, this first person who spoke is this one girl. The next person was this one guy. And he just quickly put names with the transcriptions and then he emailed it to me. And I sent that off to my client. And now my client has the ability to go through and read the interviews in a written format and highlight stuff that they want us to try to incorporate in the video, and that quickly helps us cut out all the flack. That is one way we use it. Sometimes though, and this is a good example of when we do this, we'll take it a step further and we'll send that to the client so they have the transcription, which by the way is really useful, not just for you to help collect your thoughts, but it's good for your client too, because they have the ability to directly tell you what they want included or what they want to try to have included. Now, auto transcriptions is not, it's not taking into account certain things, right? There could be a great line that a client wants to use that they see in text format, but maybe the person swallowed weird when they said it, or maybe their mic, if you're using a lapel, had some rustling noise there, or a door got closed in the background. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are things that happen that transcription is not picking up on. And so, yeah, there's some give and take there, but for the most part, the client can read through and get a pretty good idea of what they want to utilize, and they can highlight that and send it to you. And what you can do, at least in DaVinci Resolve, is you can literally say, okay, they want to use this one sentence, and start typing that sentence into the search bar, and it'll give you the timing markers for that, and you can literally highlight that those sentences and create in and out points and drop it on the timeline. And so you're literally dropping on the timeline what the client says they want in their video is really useful. But here's how I take it a step further. And this has been something I started doing over the past year. It's kind of a little secret of mine, but I'm going to put it out there because it is a really useful tool and more people should think about this. But I'll take the transcription and I'll throw it into ChatGPT and I'll say, hey, chat, here are 8 or 9 interviews for this 4 to 5 minute video we're doing for Perky Barber. Take all of the interview transcriptions here and weave together for me a really good 4 to 5 minute story that gives everybody a chance to speak and give the most speaking parts or the most amount of time for speaking to the 2 founders, Bill and Lou. And what ChatGPT will do is in like 5 seconds, it'll go through the entire transcription document. And because we labeled who was who, it keeps that in mind. And it's able to write out a story for me that I can read like a book. And I can literally just read it and see how it sounds. And it'll, it does a good job of guesstimating how long that it'll be based on the number of words and stuff. And it'll say, hey, based on a 4 to 5 minute video, this should come out around 4 minutes and 50 seconds. And, it gives Bill and Lou the most amount of time and everybody else has a chance to speak as well. Like it'll give me that and I can read through it. And I'm telling you, that is a gigantic time saver. We're talking potentially days that could save you. If you're shooting a bunch of interviews for a project and you have to traditionally sit down and go through all the interviews and cut out all the flack and save all the best stuff and try to weave together a story, you know how long, if you're in this business, you know how long and intense that could be and how grueling that could be. I can, in literally minutes, have an entire timeline transcribed and throw it into ChatGPT and have it, for me, create an entire video based off of real transcriptions that I can now go in and again find those same sentences using the search bar and create in and out points and drop it on the timeline. And in like 15 minutes, 25 minutes, however long it is, I can have a working cut on my timeline. Now, obviously from there, you have to clean it up and see if it's all going to work and make sure that the cuts aren't weird and that there's no weird audio moments or anything like that. And if there are, you can go back to ChatGPT and be like, hey, that one line didn't work here. He stuttered or whatever. And it can say, okay, let's remove that and add this other line or whatever. And it can help me shift things around as needed. But it can effectively allow me to take what could take half a day, 2 days, 3 days of work and do it in like an hour. And like, I'm telling you, that is amazing. And what I'll even do is I'll take it a step further is I'll do that. And then I'll if it works and I like how it comes together, if it sounds good, like once I actually cut it together as a rough cut, I will send a new transcription of the rough cut to the client and say, hey, based off of, here's like a raw transcription of what everybody says, and here is the rough cut. And so like in literally an hour or so, I can have for my client a working rough cut, readable transcription that they can go through and read and tell me, hey, I love it, I hate it, I like everything but this one section, and they can give me direct feedback in minutes, right? Rather than having them have to read through all the raw transcriptions and try to come up with what they want themselves. It is a massive time saver. I can cut together interview-driven projects in a fraction of what it used to take me. And it's all because I'm using transcriptions and I'm chunking into ChatGPT and saying, build me a story that's this long, and giving it, again, I'm still giving it creative direction. I need Bill and Lou, the founders, to have the most speaking time. Everybody else have a lesser amount, and, make sure it starts with Bill and ends with Bill or whatever, however I want it to be. I'm still giving it creative direction, and then it's just assisting me and helping me do it. And it is a massive, massive, massive time saver. And my clients, I'm telling you, they're loving it. The fact that not only am I giving them transcriptions of all the interviews. But on top of that, I'm sending them a transcription of the rough cut. Sometimes I'll even send the audio with it. Like, hey, here's a transcription. Here's what it sounds like. And I'm giving them a chance to give us direct feedback. And now they're getting to give me not only feedback, but they're getting to be a part of the project, but without feeling overwhelmed. Because if you just give someone a bunch of transcriptions, that can be overwhelming. But if you're like, hey, here's the transcriptions, but also here's our rough cut that we used, and just read it, and they can tell you immediately whether they like it or not without even having to look at all the full transcriptions. But they still have them to reference. So if they're like, hey, I like it, but I was reading through it, and I wanted to see if we could give Bill and Lou a couple more lines, and I read through their section, and here's another line I'd like to add. You know what I mean? But it helps them not feel overwhelmed because you're giving them a second transcription that is from the rough cut. And that rough cut you got from ChatGPT. I mean, it's just amazing. That is such an immensely useful tool. I keep using that word immensely. I need to find another word. But it really is an amazing tool, and again, is a big time saver. Now let's talk about marketing and SEO. I use AI to help me market and promote my business. Now, I'll be the first to admit, I'm like the guy, the lawn care guy. You always hear this example, right? Where someone will say, never look at your lawn care guy's own lawn, right? Because he's so busy taking care of everybody else's that when he comes home, he doesn't have time or the energy to take care of his own lawn. I'm kind of that way to an extent, right? I'll run I have several social media accounts I run, and I'm running those accounts, and I'm creating video and photo content for clients and all this stuff. And the last thing I want to do is post myself. And so I'm not like the biggest poster because I got other stuff to do. But I do post from time to time. And I use ChatGPT to help me make sure my posts are targeted to the right crowd, and that if someone searches something, I have a shot of popping up. But I'll be honest, it's not my strongest suit. I'm busy. I'm running other people's accounts. I'm doing other things. It's hard for me to have that kind of energy in the day. However, I treat my Google business profile a little differently. That I'm a little bit more serious about. Reason being is, and social media does go hand in hand with it, but I care a lot about how I pop up on Google. And you see, over a year ago, I did not have a Google business profile. I didn't even know what that was because that's not my world, right? I had somebody else build my website. I know enough about website stuff to be a little dangerous, but overall, it's not my world. But when AI started becoming a thing and ChatGPT started becoming a thing, I started using it to help me alter coding on my own website. And I'll be honest, I want to build a new website at some point. Again, I just haven't had time. I've got other things I'm working on. But I did have things I wanted to change on my website, but I didn't know how to change it. So, because it's an older WordPress site, but I used ChatGPT to help me go on and alter some things about my website. It helped me find a Google review plugin and to put that on my site. It helped me figure out how to change the coding to where I could have a drop-down box on certain things. And, so it helped me kind of work on my own website. But through that process, I found out about Google business profiles. And I didn't know that was a thing because that's not my world. But no one on my website, the people who developed my website, they had never told me about it. So I didn't know anything about it. And so for years, I have not existed on Google. I mean, I've been in business for a long time now, well over a decade. And so when you were searching like video production near me or video production New Braunfels or video production Central Texas or video production Texas Hill Country, video production near Austin, San Antonio, whatever, I didn't pop up because I didn't have a Google business profile. And I didn't know you needed that. I just thought Google knew. But it doesn't just know. You got to have a Google business profile if you want to really be searchable. Now, if someone searched for Rustic River Media, that's different. But if you're just looking for video production near me or video production New Braunfels or something like that, I didn't pop up. You know how much work that's probably cost me over the past like 13 plus years, however long I've been doing this? A lot. I mean, think about how many times people probably Google that and I didn't pop up. It's frustrating. So I used AI last year to help me create a Google business profile. And okay, now I have one. What do I do with it? So it kind of walked me through step by step, different things I could do to increase my SEO. And so I started following all the different recommendations. And I'm not going to dive into what all that is on this podcast, but I use its recommendations to help me go from not existing on Google to then start climbing the ladder. And now this doesn't happen every day because it kind of shifts day by day, but it is not uncommon for me to now rank number one in my area for video production. And if you are listening to this podcast and you didn't listen to last week's podcast, if you're not familiar with the Texas video market, video production is a very competitive market in Texas. There are a lot of people who do video for a living in this state at all different levels. And I talk a lot about that in last week's episode, so I'm not going to rehash all of that. But there are a lot of people in the state of Texas that do video production. And in my area alone, there's a ton of people. And so the fact that I commonly will rank number one on Google searching for video production in my area is awesome. And I'm starting to get jobs from that. Whereas used to, I didn't even exist. And again, who knows how much money that cost me, how much opportunity that cost me over the years. But thanks to AI, I was able to fix that. I was able to create a business profile and go on and increase my SEO so I rank among the top, if not the top, depending on the day. But either way, I'm there, and I'm always ranking highly. And that is all thanks to AI helping me to figure out how to do that. Now, I still had to do the hard work. I had to roll up my sleeves, and I had to follow its recommendations, and I have to continue to do that every day or every week. So I'm still putting a lot of work into that. You can't just say, hey, ChatGPT, give me higher SEO. But if you're willing to put in the work, it will show you how to do it. And that helped me be a lot more competitive in my area thanks to me listening to AI. You got to have the willingness to go do that, like I did. But if you're willing, and you're willing to put in the work, it can absolutely you can absolutely increase your SEO. Another way I use AI is, and this is the last thing I'll talk about to kind of wrap this podcast up, is comparing my business to my competitors. I talked a little bit earlier about how I used AI to help me figure out how to price my work and how that compares to other companies in my area. So that's one of the ways I do this. But I also use AI to help me figure out how am I ranking against other people? How does my business look positioned against other businesses? What can I do to position myself more toward the corporate AEC world, like architectural engineering, construction, medical, tech, large live streaming events? Like, how do I position myself competitively, and how do I compare to others in my field in my area? And it'll help me figure that out. And I want it to be honest with me, because I need to know, like, what do I need to do to be competitive in my market? What are some things I need to do? What are some marketing things I can do? What are some ways I need to structure my business? What are some things I need to add to my business? What do I need to do to be competitive? So I'm using it to help me see how I stack up against my competition, so I can see what I need to work on. And that has been a great tool, right? Because you might have an idea how you think you're doing, but AI it's not the have all be all on everything, but it can at least help you get a pretty good idea of how you rank against your competitors. And I think that is a really valuable tool, so you can figure out ways to improve, to give you a better chance of getting those leads or a better chance of winning those bids. So using AI as a comparison tool has been another beneficial avenue for me. I've also used it to help me create captions for posts, and a lot of people do that. Or I'll use it to create an image. Sometimes I'll have I'll want to do like a custom 4th of July post and for a client, and I might give it some pictures and say, turn this into a 4x5 image that says Happy 4th of July for Greystone Castle, and it'll help me generate that. So I use it for image generation and stuff too, or to create custom graphics or things like that. But I most commonly use it for project pricing, proposals and contracts, script writing and industry research, project planning, transcripts and interview rough cuts, marketing and SEO, and to see how I compare in how my business compares to my competitors. Those are the primary ways that I use AI. And I'm going to use it for this podcast. I'm going to use it to help me figure out what tags to use to help my podcast rank a little better. I'm going to use it to transcribe this podcast to help me write the summary for the podcast. So when you click on today's podcast episode and you read the what it's about section, I'm using the transcription and I'm chunking it in ChatGPT and I'm saying, hey, here's today's episode, the transcript for today's episode. Help me write a summary and help me have a hook and help me post it with the right tags. And so I use it for all of that as well. There's so many ways that I use it. It's a great tool. But it's important to understand that while I'm not a huge fan of AI, and many of you may not be either, and it can be intimidating, you might feel like it's going to cut you out, right, of certain jobs, and maybe it will. But if you follow the philosophy of adapt or die, and you're willing to put in the time and learn how to use it properly, it can become one of the most effective tools in your video production or photography business by helping you grow, market, land more jobs, have stronger contracts, and even help you do your job better. That's how I use AI. How are you using it? Let me know. Go to the Filming with Josh group on Facebook if you're not already there. Join the group and let me know how you are using AI to grow your video production or your photography business or whatever other business it is that you're in. And if you're not on Filming with Josh or if you're not on Facebook, let me know in the comment section of the podcast or on one of the other social media channels that we share these podcasts on. Also, if you are not yet following the podcast, please follow the podcast. It helps other people like you who are interested in video production, photography, live streaming, or anything in this world get information like this. I would appreciate the follow or the subscribe. And thank you guys for listening to this podcast episode. I look forward to chatting with you all next week.
To learn more about Rustic River Media, visit us online at rusticriver.media. Thanks for listening to the Filming with Josh podcast. Catch every episode by hitting subscribe today.